Welcome to TougeSW, Season 2, Episode 7, 2025. Alright, so today's going to be different though, because today I am doing a wiring guide on this one. I figured I'd throw it all together instead of just making a wiring guide and sit there and point at my car all the time. So, what I'm going to do is go point out a few things. Let me, wiring special. And of course, anything that I do list here, I am not side sponsor or anything. So I'm not sponsored in any way or form. Like there's about I um hopefully they still have it on there. They do. So I'll leave that there. We're going to go next. Who am I? I'm Wandering Raven. I've been doing this podcast for over a year now, but I've been trying to do TougeSW since I came back over 15 years ago. It is like a project from that came from the idea of Touge Northwest, which was also a part of the Oregon Drift and how they introduced a lot of cool things back in 2010, especially to me as well. It was a big change in my life. I wrote my whole book at VegasHackware.com if you ever wanted to figure out what all the trauma and all that stuff that actually led me to Oregon and whatnot. So I love the concept so much. It had to be redone here when I basically was feared for my life. I ended up both career and my life. Was pushed out of Oregon because of an ex business partner. So, and because of that, I had to restart pretty much everything over. And I figured to introduce something to Vegas that's different. But I wasn't just going to focus on Vegas. I was going to focus more on the West area. So, and that said, back I don't know, that didn't really go a whole lot, so now I'm creating it as a podcast, and from there, that is where I'm building everything in with. I'm Wondering Raven. I am also known as Brandy. I'm here. I drift, I hack, and I play video games. So catch me every night on Twitch from 7, sometimes 8, depending on what's going on until like late at night. Normally 11 o'clock. So I try to get myself between 7 to 11 every night, every weeknight. Weekends is normally random because I have a lot of things going on, especially building a car. So I try to make my own videos upon it. I know I did a few things last weekend, but I'm probably not gonna show it this time. But because I wanted to do this whole wiring guide that I wanted to show off. So moving on. So all right. So let's begin. Let's do the recon. This is where everything started is here. Guide. Play it. Oh, let it refresh. No. Alright, so let's start here. This is Club S12. This is one of the oldest forums on the network for S12s or the old Nissan 200SXs from 84 to 89. It's the place you go. This place I met a lot of cool people at the time. Very kind of active, but it's more active on Facebook. So, so we come down, we go to engine deck. Oh yeah, there is also Nico Club. Before I go anywhere else, this is the other place as well. A lot of times they have engine forums somewhere, buried somewhere. So a lot of times they have their own forums as well. They do have a lot of good information, and if you ever do post on here. They actually are really cool people. So, here it is. Nissan engines, Ca18det. They only specify on actual Nissan and Datsun and Infiniti stuff. So they're not going to have a whole lot on the S12 chassis as well as a whole lot of S12. So let's start here. My recon starts here. Go to here where it says OEM Ca18det. Zoom in a little more because it does look like it's small. And I want to make sure it's above my head. So here we go. Um, a lot of good information. Let's start with simplified because simple is easy. I like to keep things simple. So he goes into you go ahead and wire up the Ca18det. Ah, yeah. What is going on? You know what? Give me 1 second. All right. Then I'm getting a little dizzy here, but let's see. I'm gonna go here. Um, let's see here. You're gonna remove the ECO, and the ECU, the whole wiring harness. Very simple on that S12. Basically, just unplug a few things. All right. Do they have the actual wire? They have how to wire up relays. That's always good information. You need to wire up 3 relays if you're going to go straight from the ECU from an S12, which is going to be an S13. Normally, when you import these motors, they're going to be an S13 motor. And they're going to have the wire harness for an S13. So you have to actually wire in your 3 relays. So, here, this is where it tells you more information on what to wire in, pretty much. And this is where I'm currently stuck in is the wiring for the tach. In theory, 4 diodes off the igniter, which I do heated. Yeah, I have to do the diodes right here. I've got them in. Let's see. They're tiny little things too. And the one I'm going to be using is 1N4004. I guess I'm gonna have to do 4 of them. I'm gonna have to wire them into the harness from, I think, from the actual coils itself. Now I'm gonna have to go from the igniter side, so we'll give it a try. Actually, I'm gonna try 3 different ways. So the third way in a moment, but mod powers, yeah. Anyways, all the chances is it does a little bit of information. It's basically not really visualized, it's only visual here. So you'll just get information on how they do it. A lot of times, a lot of people don't really write up good information. So, good thing I know how to translate some of that, and I try to do my best. Now we go here to the actual swap guide made by Sam. Really cool dude when he's on there. I don't know if he's ever been back on there. Because these forums have been dead for kind of a little bit of a while, but it's always good for good stuff. So, we're gonna start with. Holy crap, that's a long ass email. And it always use way. Alright, so tools recommended need for swaps. Step 1, removing your engine. Of course, you're gonna get information on how to do the full swap here, but we're just working on the wiring part. I'm probably gonna have to get more water. Recommended tools for the swap. Yep. You have to do all that stuff. FSM, which I got multiple actually, but engine removal. What to do when the engine's removed, blah blah blah. Wiring. So upon the wiring, you're gonna have the S13 side. You're gonna have the igniter, right? You're gonna have the drop resistors. You can actually get them from like first gen DSM, like Eagle Talon or Eclipse. The first gen is like the early 90s. Not like Paul Walker kind, but I think those still work too. But I don't really quite remember. Mine actually just came with the car, so harness routing is how I done it on my car on that. Because how short the wiring is, and it's meant for a right-hand side car, so your the wiring has to go in through the passenger side. Normally, the ECU on the American side of the thing is always is on the driver's side, which is weird. All right, so on the wiring guide, let's see. This is how they basically the three relays like I was talking about. So they're gonna have the ignition, you're gonna have the gas relay, just the ECU, the fuel pump. On my car, I deleted that. And ignition relay, it's actually not too bad really. They have all the wiring. All right, so ECS that goes there. Feasible link. S12 relay. ECU. Feasible link. It kind of can be really confusing. So I do have a secret weapon for all this stuff, so we're gonna go through this. The three relays are important, but you don't really need fuel pump if you fire in the fuel pump to always turn on. And so, let's see here. These two come together as one power, ground, fuel pump signal, and ground, ECU. All the good stuff here. Here's actual the wiring. Technically, it's universal in the wiring. So, got okay. So here goes for the pump relay on the main wiring from the harnesses. We're gonna go yellow red wire from the S12 harness. It goes to the black and red wire on the on the S13 version of the harness. For the fuel pump relay. So, and pretty much here's what it does and where it goes. Neutral switches. Let's this is a K, the S12 swap, which is pretty much almost the same thing. The green black. Let's see here. Nope. Let's go the ECU relay. So in the S12, the ECU relay is on the blue and red side. There's like a main clip that's actually I think I know in my S12 it's a main clip. It has 8 different wires and find them all on. Basically there you'll find the blue and red wire goes to the red and black. The black and red wire on the S12 harness goes to the red wire on the Then you want the ignition main power for the ECU pretty much. It goes from the blue wire from the S12 harness, main harness, the black, blue, red wire, that's the D18 harness. Same goes for the green, black wire. I'll have some picture examples here shortly. And kinda. So back to the top, they do all that stuff. They do the install. Their pictures is, they don't have the full pictures. But you got the wiring for the actually I think these things. Oh, this is where a lot of people link to the Nico Club. All right, so pretty much it's a straightforward swap in a way. But I have a secret kind of. Let's see here. All right, so when I acquired the motor, I had different wiring harness. Basically, here's those three relays that they were talking about. The wiring, everything that goes into the main harness. Can I go to the next one? This is the main harness inside the car. This car is all weird and janky, and the wiring was not done so weirdly. But it's a good idea because on this side, this is where all the main harness was. There's a big clip just like that, but bigger. That was over here. Oh, it's right here. That's where they were tapping in from. The blue wire, the red, all that stuff. More on the this side where they did the three relays, and a lot of fuses. More of the wiring. You see the blue wires, the red wire. More on this side. There's that big clip again, but they put a lot of that away and just wired it directly into the harness. I wouldn't have done that. I would take the other side of the clip that did that. As bigger arms back then. Alright, so this is underneath the dash. Basically all the wiring and stuff like that. It was labeled from when I got the car, but I did just this was really hard. I think that stack itself is this one right here. Alright, get to the next one. Oh, it might have been that. See, I don't remember. Ugh. But this is under the dash wiring. Mainly, the only reason why you want to do under the dash is for the cluster. And fuel pump, I think they actually ran it to the ECU, and the ECU actually did it this way. Let's see next. Trying to get more shots on it before I did the disassembly from the one car. Tack. So yeah, that's all the underside wiring. This is where I started. This is the book. The ECU controller from here. Let's see. I tried taking pictures of it so I can actually have like stuff to go on. But here's where, even though it says ET, I was trying to do it in an ET car, but it didn't really work out too well. But it's still the same color codes, actually, believe it or not, in the S12 that I have, which is really cool. So, the two wiring. I try to do the full plug-in right here versus that plug-in. So, the blue wiring, blue, black, and red. This is how I was doing the clips. The main clip for the S12 versus the main clip for the Ca18det, the S13 version. I try to take it all down. I like doing, instead of putting this on a big whiteboard, I like doing this in the nerdy way because I work in IT. I'm a cybersecurity professional slash IT engineer. Um, a little more like a cloud engineer about, but I'm a nerd when it comes to stuff. So I did a spreadsheet. I tried to do the clips in per cell. This is how I did it. I wrote it all down. Where the whole everything else I was trying to make it simple so I can come back to it later and show it how it's done. Um, so let's go ahead and jump into the main wiring after said so. Let's see, this is where the harness itself was confusing. A lot of the harness was pretty bad in the first place, and I should have gotten better. But this is a good idea. There's that 8-port plugin I was talking about, and I was trying to get it plugged in, try to figure out which one went where. Pre-relays and service manuals must have. Um, there's actually two different versions of the 86. There's a first and a second. Well, there's actually a zero. 86 is the version 0 version that's actually on the internet. This is the first revision of it because it has upgraded wiring harness for like a 86.5, or as they put it, MK 1.5, which is basically this wire harness into an older style model. And this is how I was drawing it out. I was doing a lot of research, so I was trying to write it all down, write it down, and try to do this. Like, look at this. Look how crazy this wiring is. It's the easiest. And I was tracing it down, but I wasn't trying to highlight it in the book where everything went. But let's see, fuel pump relay. I had to basically replace these with the ones that I had there, and the other one somewhere in there. Ooh. So that was a lot of work. Here's that 4-prong here. Here's the 3-prong from the other one. It's kind of like spiderweb. That's why I did it in Excel afterwards. So my handwriting's. Here's the plugs again. Inside the wiring, a lot of times you can trace the wiring out, figure out where they go. It just takes time. You have to basically run the wire, follow the wire through, make sure the wire lines up here, in which you see how it's like off by one. So yeah, you have to be careful of that. This is that whole wire mess inside the engine bay. This is what I don't really like about the whole wire mess inside the car. So, and this is when I had the red car. The red car was modified in so many different ways. But I would try to put it there because I was trying to restore this one too. So I can alternate when drifting out there, two cars. But that is when I had crazy ideas for run like a restore company just for on these old cars. Kind of gave up in a way because the work got in the way pretty much. But this is how I like to do my this is like my whiteboard. Mm, so let's see. That's more. That's how the wiring ended up being. That there. That's the igniter. Not the igniter. That's the drop resistor. The igniter. This is meant for the fuel injectors. Because you have a low impedance fuel injectors, and your harness is not designed for that. It needs a resistors as this resistor pack. Mainly because if you have low injectors that require low resistance, high resistance will pretty much overpower them, and either it will not work or you might burn them out like immediately. So, and you don't want to do either one. Igniter helps it ignites. Basically, it sends the signal from here to tell the coils to do something in the ECU. This goes to the ECU. Tells the coils to do something here, and when the coils does something here, it goes here. And from here, no, actually, sorry, I'm really tired. So let me step back for a minute. This sends a signal to the ECU. ECU sends a signal here. The igniter ignites each and every one coil so it can fire up. That is how that works. This is a crank angle sensor. This tells when the cam is in position. You have to time it and everything. That's basically your distributor for the old people out there. So technically you'll do the timing there, but that sends it to the ECU. The ECU sends the signal to the igniter. The igniter does the thing here. These are commonly known to blow out. So is these. This is just a resistor pack. This is meant for protecting your injectors so you don't destroy them, or if they don't work because they're low impedance and you need to basically regulate the power to those injectors to fire correctly. But then again, the ECU also controls that. ECU goes here and tells it to do this stuff. It goes over here and it does a thing. It synchronizes its timing with the injectors, with the coils. And it's kind of a cool technology there. So let's see. I was trying to also extend the wiring on all of them as well because I was trying to run it for passengers and driver's side. The wiring is not long enough at all for the driver's side because from there I should be able to run the wiring through, but you need like an extra 5 to 10 feet of wiring just to do so. All right. Everything we've done that we did there. We've taken those. I try to take everything I could at the time on how the wiring's done. Let's see these instructions. I think these were from the that. All right, so that is that guide. Um, that's the wiring. What I've done. So I had to import them into my S12 for the SEV6, and doing so is pretty much the same thing, but I ran everything on the passenger side, which you see everything there is pretty much reversed on the other side. The only problem is I had the battery in the way. I didn't want to relocate that in the back yet. So I had to think of a better alternative. So you know what I did? To eliminate most of that problem, this place, wiring specialties, they're freaking awesome. So classic Datsun, old, done. And basically what I've done was went to, oh dude, they have this in. That's cool. The alright plug upgrade. You can actually delete the freaking igniter. Oh, that's a good idea. I might actually do that in the future. That's almost 200 bucks, but yeah, it's an idea. They have this here. Really? Oh. Let's see. So, this is what I ordered. In place of that, it makes it so much simpler because let's look at this wiring for a moment. ECU here, All these connectors actually connected to the igniter, the drop resistors, and it already had one major relay for the ECU. I didn't make another one for the harness. Yeah, ECS or whatever it is. I had to make the other one and delete the fuel pump one because I'm running it directly. But pretty much everything else is done. You even have the coil pack ones already ready. Everything was there. Everything's ready. Things ran the way it is. And I used a multimeter to double check all the connections where they should go. Did the wiring harness. Took it from there. It's still, you would still have to run the whole harness from the passenger side. Did um let's see. Didn't have that 3-pack there. I guess that was meant for if they actually did do that, but I didn't have to do that. I actually wired in my own. That's actually new stuff there, but okay. But yeah, that was a pretty easy, simple setup, and this is why I use this. So it was already pre-done. I didn't have to deal with the wiring, well, with the inherited wiring that I got. So that was actually really cool. Let's see. You know what? This is a great idea. See. Let's see what they've done for power steering and neutral signal connectors are eliminated. Yeah, told me, but speed sensor, which I'm not. You know what? I can probably run that now. I just have to get the wiring for hooking it up right. But let's see. How did they ran common one? Connector, switch connector. Map connection. Yep, yep. All that's hooked up. Vector coil packs, main engine, turnkey engine start guaranteed. It works, yeah. That's how I have it all set up. There might be something that I need to maybe do. I don't know. Alternator starter speed doesn't say anything about tachometer really. Even though it did say tack on one of the wiring, I never got that work. I'm gonna have to tap into that stuff. But that is the wiring I'm using. This is what I'm doing. I highly recommend it. It's super easy. And if you're really confused on how the S13 is really wired in, I mean, you can go that route. Makes it easier. Highly recommend it. I mean, everything is pre-done, and if you need like all 3 relays, right there. That's actually really cool. Like you've seen, like I think I had 6 on the other one, but this one has all 3. And that's actually a second connector in, but I think that connector connects to this extra wire that's over right, but that's not needed. That's if you're running 2 different relays. I mean, I did wire up a second relay just for the ECU power and the turn on power. So that was pretty much it. Classic roadsters. I don't know why. I've only seen a couple of those actually swap that motor in, but it's pretty good. They should add S12 into this as well, but it works. It really does. Um, and because of that, they have their wiring guide. You follow their wiring guide. I think they have it in here. Let's see. You're not going to be able to hear this, but Let's see. That's another thing too, is the braided. The connectors, the braid, everything's streamlined. I just like how they did it. I like the work. Mm. That's basically my wiring guide and how I actually set it up. Um, let's see. If I wanted to go GM LS2 smart coil conversion, that looks like a good potential. This is your main harness right here for the coil packs. Ooh, ooh. I had one of these as well. I made sure about one of these because it actually helps with the extra grounding. And hatch harness. This is an actually really good idea because you can delete the igniter and you can actually run coils from an Audi R8 VW, which inputs the igniter on each coil, which is really cool. But, so yeah, that's gonna be my future one though. But okay. So that is my harness setup. That is how I did it. Um, this is how you would do it if you were doing it yourself with 3 relays. Um, it wasn't really too much of that though. That's how it works. It actually works. So I mean, it wouldn't be working today if that didn't work. Highly recommended. Um, I'm pretty sure that someone has done like an SR20 version of that, but there's somebody else that actually recommended for the wiring. But that's how I done it, and I recommend it because it's easier. A lot of times, if you import an Ca18det, you're gonna get it chopped up, or it could be a very old wiring mess. And it's always best to start an actual swap with clean harness. Not gonna lie, it's always good to have a clean harness. Oh, that's my the I try to get a picture of engine bay. See that right here. Yeah, the whole S. Can't even tell. I actually ran it in the valley down there. Wiring is coming from over here. Basically, I deleted the heater core there, but might just actually reinstall it. Maybe. No, no, no. I deleted the AC there. The heater core? I don't remember. I have to double check. I might still have the heater core installed, but not the AC unit. Kind of deleted the AC unit. But yeah, I kind of ran it there, ran wiring I need here. I will I'll transfer real quick. See if I can pull a better picture here. Something more recent. Do that real quick. Um, Pro. Rock and a pick 6. 11 o'clock. Holy cow. So, there it is. Camera. Engine bay. I know I've taken engine bay pictures. Do this. Okay, so this is more recent. Um, Basically lot of the wiring, because even though I did it on this side, see the little bit braided wiring here, the wire there. It just makes everything clean and not such a mess. A lot of that wiring is over here. A lot of it's down here. One that runs here. Everything else I could run behind the radiator. I did because it's another harness. Basically zip tie to. And that's what I did. I try to run everything over here because the main engine harness is over here that you don't want to plug into. I hid the ECU in here because I was able to pull the ECU this far in. And now, no, because the way the harness was, it was still meant for a right hand drive car. Got another picture. Maybe a cleaner picture here. Not really. All right. That car. Still pretty clean. Yeah, fix that. There we go. Side point here. I did more wiring here. I had to fix the wiring for the ECU because until I broke it. But that is how I'm using the wiring specialties. Recommended to get it for the ECU over here on the driver passenger side. Unless you're right-hand drive, then it's the driver's side. To keep it short and sweet, I would recommend a special small hole drilled through somewhere over here. Try to like do some type of adhesive or something that you can trap none of the engine gases to come in. So, um, and yeah, I did have a wrap on that one. I just don't have a picture of that done. There's this. This is how much of a mess. Well, actually, the mess was bigger. That is that's the relay for the fan. The fans that are wired up to a switch. Because I don't want to control that. Alright, so that is the wiring guide. That's how it works. Yeah, that's pretty much what I've done. And 1987 for the car that I'm working on. But there's something wrong with this one though, because my car has engine harness from an 88 as well. And don't ask me how I know that. So, alright, so that is my wiring guide. It is pretty straightforward. The wiring is you buy the one from the wiring specialties. It's actually right there. Note that the clips that I showed earlier, that's all you really need to get it running. The 3 relays, make sure you have it all plugged in. You're good to go. That is pretty much how that works. So what's next on my project? So now we're done with the wiring thing. Hopefully you learned a little bit on how that wiring is set up. Not, I'll try to make more in depth, maybe more of how it should go. But it, like I said, it's pretty simple. You make 3 relays, the 3 that goes to the ECU. You do that setup, you plug it all in between the 2 plugs, and you should be able to start it. And let's see what's next. So I'm going to be wiring up the diodes to those once I actually confirm if it goes before the igniter to the coils, straight from the coils, or behind the igniter from where it goes from the signal from the ECU to that. I think it comes from the coils itself when it sends the signal back. So we'll be wiring those up this weekend. We're gonna try to get more of the wiring done in the inside, which is I'm working on center console. I gotta get paint so I can paint the little plastic device that's inside. Trying to mount gauges in there, especially a big one if I can get the tachometer working with the S12's internal thing. The oil gauge itself pings all the way over to the right where it shouldn't be, so I fix that problem. Even though I did heat it in, so I think there needs to be. I think it's sending too much power because it's a different type of oil pressure unit. We'll figure that one out. What I currently have going on top of that, I might actually, if I can actually move it, I'm gonna move it. We're gonna back it out of the driveway and put it right back in the driveway. That's what's next. So this is closing. 46 minutes in. Try to give out much information as I can. Simple, straightforward. I showed a little bit of recon, how I found the stuff, how I found the information. Everyone, if the S12, the Club S12 ever goes down, you're gonna always go to a place called archive.org. They can bring back good old articles that way. They might be able to bring down the images that are actually there, but it'll actually should be able to pick up a lot of that old stuff. So that's actually a good sign. If you're looking for old things like that, if things go down, but you got Nico Club as well. Always ask Nico Club for help. Um, and there's always me too. You know, I'm always there. If you could join the Facebook club for the S12 stuff, everybody there is willing to help. A lot of cool people like that. Anyways, this ends it for that. Closing any Q&As if there's any out there. I don't think so tonight, but maybe another time. Anyways, have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. I'll be back tomorrow night at 7.